they're always like they want to see it first, then they will believe it, right? But I think 18. I just turned 18, and I remember my parents being like, "You're not going there," and I was like, "I am." So when I was a kid, I actually had two dreams. One was to become an international spy, and the second one was to be a business owner like my dad. I already told my parents, I said, I'm gonna do this, and they were like, yeah, we'll see about that. They were like, no, you're
They
not
never
going.
believe you. They're just like when I told my mom, like, hey, I'm going to London. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
And until the day I'm like on that plane going to London. Whatever you put your mind to, you do it. And you do it you're like a high achiever. Didn't accept any handouts because like your dad has a very successful business.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm doing this my way.
It was still, and I think that's the best way to say it, it was still innocent.
Things get really tough.
And of course I paid it back. When you are starting out, it's harder to attract the right talent. Because who are you?
How do you not lose yourself in the pursuit of the mission?
And then I started to have really deep thoughts and conversations actually with myself that if I'm going to be a mom, I don't want to have this stress.
Jed, welcome to House of Impact podcast. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us today.
Yeah, so excited. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I think that you are an example of perseverance, vision, and consistency. I will let you to tell your story, but you basically went from a small town in the Netherlands to then moving to London, almost getting a good corporate job, and then you said, I don't like this, I'm gonna go to Bali with, I think you said $600, and now you built a multi-seven-figure business in less than 2 years and are traveling the world speaking like that is the dream. So how did everything start for you? Let's start there.
So I small town girl, from the north of the Netherlands, and I would say my story already started in entrepreneurship when I was very young, because my dad is a business owner, and I really see him as like my biggest example. So when I was a kid, I actually had two dreams. One was to become an international spy. And the second one was to be a business owner like my dad. I always had these two dreams. So very early on as a kid, I was either trying to spy on my neighbors or I was trying to sell them things, and that was really kind of my hobbies, these two things. So when I finished high school, I tried to apply to the police academy in the Netherlands. I went to the open days and I learned all about, the trajectory of like where you could be in 4 years, in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, because I wanted to be then detective or obviously get recruited to be a spy. So I applied to this academy. But in Netherlands, if they cannot forecast that there will be like jobs in like 5 years, then you cannot start the study. So there was like a freeze. So nobody was allowed to start the police academy for this period. And I was like, oh no, my dream, what am I going to do now? So then I decided I didn't want to have a gap year. I wanted to do something else and then maybe do police academy after. Because otherwise, what are you waiting for? You don't know if it's going to be 1 year freeze, 2 year, like you have no idea. So then I actually chose hospitality management because it was a business study, but I heard that you could go to Bali and Bangkok. And I never knew anything about Bali, Bangkok, or, any of the places you could go to, but I just had this gut feeling of like, okay, yeah, that sounds good.
You wanted to like travel.
Yeah, I wanted to travel. And I felt like when I heard that study that you could obviously learn business, but also travel and live abroad, I was like, yeah, let's try it. So I actually applied there. And I remember the selection day. They looked at me and said, Jet, you've never worked in hospitality before. Like, why are you here? And I think they even graded me like a 5 on like motivation of wanting to do that study, And in the end, I did get selected, but it was true. I never did any hospitality study before. I worked actually in a garden center for like 7 years as a teenager. But for some reason, I was attracted to that study, and I got selected, and I got through. And then in the study itself, I did a lot of practical work and jobs and internships in hospitality. And then in the third year of that study, that's when you do something called Grand Tour, which means that you can go half a year to Bali, Bangkok, Qatar, or South Africa.
That was your golden ticket to
Yeah,
the world.
and I remember in the first year, I already told my parents, I said, I'm gonna do this, and they were like, yeah, we'll see about that. They were like, no, you're
They
not
never
going.
believe you. They're just like when I told my mom, like, hey, I'm going to London. Okay.
Exactly.
And until the day I'm like on that plane going to London.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're always like they want to see it first, then they will believe it,
yeah.
right? But I was, I think, 18. I just turned 18, and I remember my parents being like, "You're not going there," and I was like, "I am."
I'm not asking for permission, guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So and then I did go, and I did event management specialization there in Bali first for 4 months, and then 4 months in Bangkok. And in Bali, I just started posting content on Instagram, like random, like just photos. We didn't have reels yet back then. It was just photos. And I started to gain like followers, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why are these people liking my content and commenting? So this was 2017. So before, I would say that was at the start of what an influencer even was and what was a travel blogger. It was not that big yet at this time. So when I started to find out what was happening, that people were following me because I was in Bali and because I was, in these places, I made up my mind and I said, yes, I want to become a travel blogger and an influencer, and I want to travel the world for free, right? Because we think it's for free, to get paid to stay in hotels and tourism boards and all of that. And I worked really hard during already that half year in Bangkok and Bali to post photos. And I remember my friends going crazy. They were like, oh, she wants another picture, I was like, guys, please, this is my dream now.
Were you making a good living by then?
No.
Or were you just like
no. I was
following
living
the dream?
I was living off the student loan from the
Mm-hmm.
Netherlands, which at that time, it was really a loan. We didn't get anything gifted, so it was a loan.
It's like a double-edged sword. It's like
Yeah.
what people see and they think like, oh, like she's living her best life, to behind closed doors. It's like, I still have to pay for this loan and I'm not making any money and I'm on the other side of the
Totally.
world. And
No,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah, at this time it was like, and the realization I had later was that it's really the currency in the influencer business is not money. The currency of business and transaction is attention. So they want, you will do everything to get attention first because you know that the money will follow. Because the more likes you get, the more followers, the more brand deals, the more sponsorships. So the first currency that you are actually going for is attention. So first I had to build that up, over the years. And then, well, in that first half year, I think I got maybe to 5K followers or 10K followers, but the engagement was so good back then. I would get like, with 10K followers, I would get like 5,000 likes and 300 comments. Like, it was still, the algorithm was still so different from Instagram.
So how do you go from that to building a multi-seven-figure business in the coaching industry
Yeah.
and talking to stages and being flown across the world? You recently came back from Antarctica, which not a lot of people can say like, I've been there.
Yeah.
And like, you're just 25.
25, yeah.
How do you get yourself from there to literally the top 1% of people in such a small, like, short amount of time?
Yeah, it's funny how life goes, I feel like I never expected to be in this space when I started, obviously, looking into, influencer life and travel blogger life. But the reason I try to be an influencer when I really ask myself, is because I wanted the lifestyle. So you want to travel, you want to be able to work from anywhere, you don't want a boss, you don't want a schedule. So you want the freedom and the lifestyle. And lifestyle is beautiful places, hotels, and even the most amazing clothes because they will give it to you, right? The luxury, like all of this brand stuff, you know?
But were you happy though? Because
Mm,
feel like you have to show up even when you feel utter shit, and
mm-hmm.
like you have to portray this life when in
Yeah.
reality it's a complete different life that you have. Were you happy back then?
I think in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, I was happy because it was still, and I think that's the best way to say it, it was still innocent, you know? Instagram was still innocent because the algorithm was chronological. So just whoever you followed, if they posted at 10 a.m. and the other person at 11, you see the 10 a.m. first, then the 11, it was still innocent. And then it came with all these algorithms, and then people started with the dirt of engagement groups that they call pods, right? Where you comment on each other's stuff. People start buying likes, people start doing loop giveaways, people, they do everything for attention, right? So I was still innocent back then, as in posting just genuinely what I liked and where I was, and even reporting on it and being like, today, guys, I am here, you know, in my caption and informing people about the destination. Whereas then later, when you realize, oh, I need money, sorry, I need attention to get money, this is when the game changes, right? So this is when you're going to start to do things to make sure you get the most attention, which analyzing it now, I understand why, right? Because I'm really into neuroscience now and like conformity and
Yeah.
social influence. But we do everything to get attention. So we start to change the way that we see ourselves, and we start to change what we post to please and to conform with what the majority agrees with and likes the most.
Do you think that is a main one of the biggest problems nowadays with the surge of OnlyFans and
Mm,
people, you know?
I think it's not necessarily a new problem. Conformity, right? So that people conform to what the majority agrees with. This is just something that has happened always in nature, right?
Mm.
Um, but the scale of what is happening right now with social media is different. So, you know, best way to explain is like conformity is, let's say you have two caves, right? Back in the day, and you have people going into a cave to explore it, and nobody comes out. Okay, and there's the cave on the right side, and people go in and they come out with food and a big smile. What cave do you think you're gonna try? You know, you're gonna try the one with the highest survivability rate.
Mm.
So this is a survival instinct, is to conform to what the majority does, right? And it's deep, deep, deep in our core and in our being as a human. Um, right now, it's not just happening, of course, in the physical place, you know? Like if, for example, we're in this room and there's 20 other people and you ask a question and everyone votes for the answer A, I will conform and also probably vote A, you know, because like, right, I'm trying to conform with the peer group around me. But now this peer group isn't just in your location, it is online, it's on social media, right? So what happens now is, yeah, if everyone is glamourifying the influencer life, OnlyFans, things like this that get the lifestyle that a lot of people
Even
want.
business life.
Yeah, yeah. Even, you
Yeah.
know, it's with way more. It's even the 50-50 life, right? The more, you know, we promote, glorify, and give attention to things online, the more people are going to conform and agree that this is the right way. This is the only way. This is the correct way, right? Because it gets the most attention. Um, so that is what's yeah, what's obviously I discovered later. Um, but it is the main reason why I had that pivot point of saying, you know, who am I? What am I even posting? And obviously, the mental health effects of what an influencer, you know, or someone that thrives off attention, like that needs attention to have a business,
Mm.
like the toxic mental health aspects that come with it. That is the main reason that I said, okay, I don't want to go back to 9 to 5, right? I'm not going to do that. Um, but I need to do something else that still gives me the freedom, you know? So in my during that 6 months in Asia, I started innocent. It was nice. Then another 6 months in Netherlands. Um, this is when I continued with Dutch content in Netherlands, but of course it was different. It was harder because Netherlands, it's different than Bali, Bangkok. But I kept going. I kept learning about it. I even remember this was the point where I started to separate from my friends already back then, because they were actually the ones saying, "Oh, yeah, don't think that you can make it work in the Netherlands, Don't think that you can make it work now, right?" And obviously just not understanding what I was doing, because they were, when I came back from that Asia trip, I wanted to talk about all the adventure and culture, and they wanted to talk about how many boys they kissed and, to get a McFlurry at the McDonald's. Um, and that was already the point for me where I separated myself, more from them, and realized that I just started to think so different. But I tried. I worked really hard that half year in Netherlands to make content. I had brand deals, started to make good money, actually. But I was already in my third year of my study, so I was not going to give up. I wanted to get my diploma, my degree. So after half year in Netherlands, then the year of the internship started, and this was in London. So this was when I started to work for Hilton UK and Ireland in the recruitment department. So we were recruiting for all the hotels in the UK and Ireland. And I did that for a year. I would say I was really successful because they kind of promoted me like 4 times without paying me more. But I got more and more and more and more responsibilities towards the end, where I was recruiting for LXR, one of the highest luxury hotels in London, as an intern. So I think I crushed it.
But there's with you, like, there's a pattern there. Whatever you put your mind to, you do it, and you do it you're like a high achiever. Either you're gonna do it as like a 10 out of 10, or you just don't bother doing it. And I think that is what got you here, because what you do, not everyone can do it. Everyone can start a business.
Yeah.
But the goal is to not start a business. The goal is to like stay in business.
Yeah, no, totally. I think, it's even in studies, right? I was a nerd, I can say that. Like, I was the one that studied the hardest, that did the homework, and that all people were always asking, like, can I have your notes? Like, I was that person.
So let's move to, okay, so you get promoted and then you decide to leave everything behind to go back to Bali and start your business. You flew, whenever you say this to me, it's almost like blows my mind. You flew to Bali with $600 in your pocket and you were surviving out of eating tempeh.
Yeah.
To literally hitting 7 figures in your first year of business in the coaching industry.
Yeah.
How the heck did you do that? Like, how? Because it's not that you ever did coaching. Like, you didn't have those skills.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a year?
Yeah, so when I decided to leave corporate and, declined that promotion that they offered me in the end, everyone's really angry at me, my parents, my grandparents, even my colleagues said, Jet, you should have stayed because we would all be working for you one day, and I remember that it was such a hard decision. But I again, it was this weird gut feeling of like, you can always go back to corporate. You can always go back to this job, because you will crush it again, But I was like, I have to try this lifestyle that I experienced briefly when I was studying in Asia, So I was like, it started there, so I think I have to go back there, And for the next 2 months after I stopped that internship, I sold all my clothes. I sold all my furniture in my room. Even sold some of my parents' stuff, just to make money to afford the visa, to afford the plane ticket, and of course to get ready for this trip. And I remember, yeah, after plane ticket and everything, I had $600 in my account. Um,
You didn't accept any handouts because, like, your
no,
dad has a very successful
yeah,
business. You're
yeah,
like, I'm doing this my way.
yeah. It's like my dad. So the funny thing is, even in this period of influencing, right? I also tried other businesses. So at the same time, I tried MLM,
Mm.
affiliate marketing. I had a web shop. I did travel vlogging. I went into crypto, like, and I really, yeah, I give everything, a good shot. And then figuring out how it exactly worked, and that some of those ways of working online were just not for me, which is fine. Um, but I asked my dad once. I asked my dad once for support. I made a whole PowerPoint and asked him about this MLM business. It was 1K, and I sold it to him, and he said okay. And then that business went bankrupt a week later, and I lost everything. So that's the moment when I said to myself, my dad would have helped me anytime. He would have given me the world, like anything. But I just decided, like, I asked his help, I fucked up, and now I can't give it back to him. So I'm never going to ask him again, you know, because like this is my journey. And even though he always would want to help me, I didn't want to accept the help, I wanted to do it myself. Um, and of course, I paid him back, in no time after that for this. But yeah, I'm still grateful that he believed in me, because even though that MLM business failed, it was some sort of door opening for me into like other online businesses, and like just learning all the sales skills and all of that. It did teach me things that I'm really grateful for. Um, but
Let's go back
yeah,
to you coming to Bali and
yeah.
then building the business. And then we go from
Mhm.
there.
So sat in the plane and I looked at the screen where you see where you're going, and I remember thinking like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what's my
Yeah.
plan even? Like, I don't
I've
have
been there.
money.
Yeah.
I know nobody in here. Like, I knew nobody
Yeah.
in Asia. I had no clue where to go, what it was going to be like, because the last time I was here was during a study in like a very secure environment. You with a school bus, like it
Yeah.
was so different. And I remember sitting there and just thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. And actually, I lied to my parents. I told them that I already had an online job, and I didn't. I had nothing.
Don't we all though? It's like, yeah, I'm doing something.
Yeah, I'm doing
Side
fine.
hustle. Side hustle's like
Yeah.
it's not there. Like,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
it's your parents, so you have to sometimes.
Yeah, you just want to, you want them to think that everything is fine while you're figuring it out, I guess. And again, I didn't want to get any handouts or help or anything. So,
You remind me
yeah.
so much to when I flew to London. Obviously, like I was still in Europe, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember like the 2 years leading up to me moving there, I worked 3 jobs while I was studying, while I was trying to get my business off the ground. And then I remember the night leading up to my flight, I was just sitting in my bedroom and like staring at the ceiling, being like, gosh, Jenny, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And then I remember being on the plane. I'm like, you only have one way ticket. There's no way back, and it's gonna suck. And there's no plan B because you go there to build a business. What if the business fails? What are you gonna do? And then you do whatever you have to do. If you need to eat noodles with butter for like a
Yeah.
month or two, you do it. If you need to be like late on rent because you're just paying this software for your business, you do it. Like you need to keep walking.
But that's such a good thing you said. It's exactly that mindset of there is no plan B.
There's no plan B.
This is it, and I'm going to commit to try this road, and this is it. There's no plan B, C, D, or whatever. And I think that's more mindset of not accepting failure. Like, failure does not exist in that scenario, because you're doing it and it's going to work out. And I think more people should have that. Just don't have any plan B, C, D, E, whatever. Only plan A, and commit to it, and then just don't accept failure.
Why What do you think the number one reason for people to fail is? Because you work with a lot of, you help people go from 9 to 5 to making 5 to 10K a month, doing what they want to do, freelancing, owning a business, whatever that is. why do you think a lot of people fail, especially in business and especially women in business?
The number one thing is really mindset. It's mindset and discipline, because you can do something one time very good, but you could also do it 100 times average, and that will get you further. So it's about discipline. It's about doing the boring stuff every single day to get to your goal, and to understand that it's a stairs and it's not just a jump there, you know? So you cannot think, I tried it for one day, didn't work out, I felt uncomfortable, I'm going to stop, you know? You actually have to do the boring stuff every single day. And that is the skill of discipline, you know? And I think not a lot of people are disciplined anymore, not just in business, but also in life, you know? It's about consistency. So, like, you have to develop a consistent personality. And this is
Yeah.
also about say to do ratio. So, if you say something, are you also going to do it? And this is to other people, right? If I say I'm going to be here, I'm going to go check and I'm fucking here. I'm here.
Even doesn't if it rains, if
Yeah.
there's a tsunami, you're here, okay?
Exactly, you know, it's a
Yeah.
characteristic. It's like say to do ratio, and it's in relationship, it's with people, but it's also to yourself. So if I say, hey, I have this big goal, I want to achieve this, then I actually have to take action to do it, and I have to be consistent with it and stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you do that when things get really tough? Because I remember, obviously, we're very good friends, but I remember that you told me, because I asked, like, what was the hardest moment in your journey?
Mm.
Do you want to share that? Because I think what you just said, it's very, very relevant to that moment.
Yeah. Now I have a lot of things in my mind because that's a lot of big things. What did I say back then? What was it?
So, because I asked you, like, of course, when you are around, when you surround yourself with like successful people, especially women, because this is something that I'm seeing with a lot, like, obviously, being in the business, coaching male and women, and then being in the podcast, there's only 3% of women business owners reach 7 figures. Only 3%.
Yeah.
That is a very, very small number.
Yeah.
But I think that they reached that because they had a make or break kind of moment, and they didn't let that break them. So I asked you, I think when I came to your place, like, what was the hardest moment that you had in your business? Because everyone sees you now that you're making multiple 6 figures a month. You have an amazing team. You go all around the world whenever you want. But they just don't see that there was a point for you that was a make or break point.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I think once I skilled, you know, after influencer, becoming freelancer, scaling my agency, and then starting my coaching business, the biggest, I would say, point of going from making, you know, good money to making like fuck you money. You know.
Yes.
To like, yeah, making multiple six figures per month. That point was when I started to hire team members, you know. So first, when I started my coaching business after, you know, skilled my agency, had a great team there, started into coaching courses and info products, there was the time where I did everything myself. So I was my own appointment setter, my own marketing person. I was my own closer. I was coaching everyone, my own admin assistants, like everything, right? Which I think we all joke about when we say, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," because you have like 10 hats on, but
You're a
it's not necessarily a
solopreneur.
good thing. That's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, you want to build a team at some point, but I feel like that was definitely a big like literally a threshold. It's a threshold of you're alone, so you have low cost. So making 10K a month, you keep 10K a month, you know. You have some software and stuff, $100 a month, whatever. But you still keep like, you know, 95% profit margin. So let's say you keep 10K Versus now we are doing, I don't know, 35K in revenue, right? With all the team cost off of that, all the stress that comes with that, and I still make 10K in profit. So it's this point where it's like I'm making the same as when I had no team versus when I have a team. With a team, I have more headache, more problems, more to manage. So that's the question of, do you want to stay comfortable and stay kind of small? Or do you really want to build a 7-figure business? That's the question here. It's like going from 6 figures a year to 7 figures a year, it requires a team, you know? And I feel like that was a point where I asked myself constantly, is this worth it? Like, this is very uncomfortable, like hiring people, firing people, building a team, versus when I was still doing it in my innocence myself, to going to a team. And now I've scaled it to having 25 people in my team.
How do you build a successful team? Because obviously it all like comes down to your leadership
Yeah.
and how you lead them.
Yeah. And also, so when you are starting out, it's harder to attract the right talent. Because who are you? Why would they want to work for you? And then, of course, you can do a lot with sharing your vision, sharing your mission, empowering them, designing their roadmaps. But again, when you're still doing 5 other things yourself, do you really have time to do all of that as well? Or are you just quickly hiring, onboarding, let's go? Now that we're a bigger company, people come to me. A players come to me and say, I know what you're doing. I know how much revenue you're doing. I want to be your closer. I want to be your setter, right? I want to do your marketing. So now you build, I guess, that employer brand where people want to work for you because they know the potential. They know how much other people are making with you. But before that, it's hard. It's hard to retain people. It's hard to create a good company culture when people constantly leave or you constantly have to fire people. And the biggest lesson I learned there is that I was hiring too early for skill over attitude. I think when you start out, you need to hire for attitude and teach them the skill, because attitude means the way they communicate, the person that they are. Are they a loyal person? And then you can take someone with really good potential that is a newbie and you can mold them, you can help them, you can create talent. They will be loyal to you because you taught them everything. And I have still some of these people that have worked for me now for multiple years. But in the beginning, I was like, no, I want a top closer who's already closed XYZ in revenue. Why would they stay with me? I'm nobody yet. So then those people, you hire them, and when they smell something better, they go.
Yeah. I think it's also why you said the leadership lead.
Yeah, love the lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in leadership definitely important that and in general just managing any team, any company, and even to yourself again, because a lot of this business stuff doesn't just start in business. It starts with who are you? And of course, me running these businesses, I've also developed my own skills like very far. So it's like a combination. But yeah, the law of the lead. So your team, people around you, people that look up to you, they can only be as good as you are, right? You see it as a jar and a lid. They can only rise to your level. They cannot exceed you. They cannot go above you. So if you show up average, they will show up average. If you don't show up on time, why do they have to show up on time? If you don't hit your KPIs, why should they hit their KPIs, right? And that's the law of the lid. They can only grow and perform as good as their leader. So you have to lead by example and you have to consistently show up yourself. And I see that when in the beginning, when, certain hardships happen in business and problems, when I just started, of course, I was way more emotional than now. Now I developed more stoicism. I'm more stoic.
Thick skin.
I can,
Yeah.
I don't get so emotional about it anymore. And maybe That's even a little bit of a masculine trait, that I had to develop. Um, but when you start out and big things happen and big problems, you get affected by it. So I might reply less on my team channels that day, or even on the meetings, they could sense it. Or maybe I didn't do what I told them I was going to do today because I felt so upset, That directly impacts your team. They feel it. They will start to actually have the same energy. And she's not doing what she told me, right? Say to do ratio. She's not doing what she told me she was going to do today. So why should I? Whereas now I'm more resilient. So big problems come and I just tell my team, who's ready to go to war. Let's go. And it's a totally different mindset. But that's again law of the lid, because if I stay in this down, low energy, low performance, they will also stay there. So yeah.
Ooh. Was there a point in your business, in your journey, that you almost lost it all, or you were really scared of almost getting back there? Because it's kind of like, especially when you start, like, it's kind of like a yo-yo. It's on like 10K, then 5K, then, and just, stay in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in the coaching business, so once I started with info products, not really, to be honest. I was like confident. I know the trick, like I know this trick now. Also because I already scaled a marketing business, marketing agency. So by the time I had my third business, I feel like it's that different energy where you're like, it doesn't matter, I can literally achieve anything I want. I will repeat this process again and again and again because I know the trick now. So in that time of losing it all, no. And still right now, I can confidently say I'm never scared. I don't have any fear. That's why I take bold risks, because I've done this before. I can do it again. I can do it again. I can do it again, and I know that for myself.
Yeah.
But when I went from corporate to influencer, which was very unstable income, then trying all these other businesses that obviously didn't work, of course, then that's the point where you think, do I apply to jobs again? Do I have to go back to corporate?
Yeah.
Were my parents right? What were my friends right? So in that moment, of course, there were, I was scared of losing it all. But now I'm not even, I told you my Instagram account
Got banned.
got banned again. So it keeps getting banned every 10 days or so.
A lot of people, and I'm sure like you've seen this and probably it might have happened to you to some degree, especially women, because we attached our own success to success of our business, which is not a good thing to do. How do you not lose yourself in the pursuit of the mission and the vision?
I think you will lose yourself, but it's about recognizing that point and then thinking about what you want to do with that. So for me, when I was influencer, I lost myself in the content, right? In like the pursuit of attention. So posting stuff that before I never liked, but now I would post it because I knew it would get the best likes and the most attention. That was a point for me where I'm like, I'm losing myself and I'm starting to post what other people like instead of what I like, right? So they are actually influencing me. That was one point where I was like, okay, I'm losing myself now in the goal of getting freedom. I actually caged myself and I, sold my soul to the devil to get attention and likes and followers, and recognizing that point and then getting out of it. But I think we will always have these moments where we get lost in the pursuit of a goal or a dream, and we have this pivotal point where we can make a change. So for me, it was there, changing to freelancing, which is less, about the likes and the followers and all of that, more about the skills. And I think recently, like a really big epiphany, I guess, where I sat in my house and I look and I'm like, wow, I have a really nice house.
Which is yours, you just bought.
Yeah, I just bought a house here. And I think I have everything. I gave myself my dream life, you know. I can support my parents, I can support my sister, and but the only thing missing is something that money cannot buy, you know. And then I started to have really deep thoughts and conversations actually with myself about, you know, I already proved to everyone and myself that I can do everything alone. I can be alone. I can build a business alone. I can go through every hardship, business ships, like all the problems alone. Um, why do I have to prove that to anyone? Why can I not just want what I want? And then I realized what I want is I want to start a family. You know, I want a husband. I want marriage. I want kids. Um, Whereas in corporate, I thought, oh, I want to first build my career, right, in corporate, and then maybe end 30s, I want to get kids. Now I'm like, I have everything else. And I feel like that's what's missing for me to give me fulfillment. And, you know, um, I also just love, you know, and I'm so excited actually to build a family and to start a family and to be a mom. And this is that point where it's like, Jet, you can keep being in this masculine energy of, I need to reach this number. I need to build 5 more businesses. And honestly, I have like 10 more ideas that I think could all be 7-figure businesses, you know? And like you said, when I do something, I will crush it. I know that. But who am I trying to prove something to? Like, would I have to prove that every business I start, I can crush? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I think I just realized that that's, if I keep going like that, I'm not gonna be happy.
Mm.
Is that chasing happiness? Is that chasing more money? You know? Or do I say, hey, maybe I actually want to slow down.
Mm.
Maybe I want to be more instead of do every
Yeah.
day, you know? And for that, yeah, I think if I'm gonna be a mom, I don't want to have this stress, you know?
Mm.
Because I'm less stressed and I deal with problems easier, more
Mm.
resilient, I have more support systems, I have a team. But I don't know, I think any CEO saying that they have zero stress is lying,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
think what you said there is key because for me, like when I first got to England, I it just happened. I just started posting content on LinkedIn, and that was 2019. And I've been posting content on LinkedIn since from 2019 since 2020, mid 2023. And then I got to a point that I completely lost myself and, oh, you haven't posted today? This post doesn't have likes. The algorithm, like, I was getting so much into the technical parts of it that I
Mm,
was not even anymore seeing the bigger picture. I was not even seeing, is this serving my clients? Is this gonna bring me closer to people that actually need me to find me?
yeah.
I was just getting very lost in all that world. And I made the hardest decision that I ever had to make to stop my business, stop posting, just go off the grid and really, really figure out how I want to do things, what I want to do, how I want to serve people. And probably I'm going to start posting again, but more coming from a place of this is how I've done it.
Mm,
This is how I can help you. Well, I still take a look at algorithms sometimes, but it's not going to, everything that I put out is not going to come from, let's see how much I can push it to 200
yeah.
likes, because that doesn't mean that you will have people coming and buying from you.
Yeah, that also,
And
totally.
for me, it was also like a moment where I was like, okay, like I built a business, I have my apartment in London, now I have the man of my dreams, but I'm still not happy. And I
Mm,
think that was because deep down I knew I was living in a lie, in like a parallel world of this is who people see me as, Geni Cor. Like I'm crushing it. I have like the
mm,
best life. But behind the scenes, I was miserable. My
yeah.
business, the way I was doing was not bringing me fulfillment. The people that I was attracting into my business was just not good. And obviously, it got to a point that I'm like, I just have to burn it down and start over. And I know that now I start not from zero, but from wisdom
Yeah.
and looking at what I want, and not like, oh, if I don't post a selfie and a text, I'm not going to have the same reach. But I know that I don't need to reach 10,000 people to just find one person I can help. But especially for women, it gets to a point that, and more and more and more women, the statistics are going up, that they wake up from it too late.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they like 34, 35, 38. And now at 38, they have to look for a husband. Give yourself 2 years. One first year of dating, second year get engaged, then wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and then have a kid. And they just don't realize, and they get into their 40s. I'm not saying you cannot get pregnant in your 40s, but a lot of women, especially in business, they wake up from it too late.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's very true. And also, the things that being a business owner, all the stress even makes some women infertile,
Yes.
because of everything that stress it puts on our body and on our health. Um, Also a reason why I said I don't even know if I would be able to hold a child
Mm.
under this amount of pressure and stress, you know. Um,
But there's women that do it though. It's just at
yeah.
what risk?
Well, yeah, that's
At
the
what
thing. I
cost?
wouldn't know. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know, of course, about myself or about others, but I feel like I just don't want to find out, you know.
Mm.
I don't want to find out. I think I love building businesses. I love marketing, and I will always do something to fuel my ambition, but it might be more public speaking, podcast, YouTube, content, so creative, and less sales driven, which is, I feel like, the era I'm stepping into now, where I have businesses that I might even have CEO for at some point and just be the founder, um, the creator. But in that aspect, to step away from that and to fully focus on what I love and my passion in public speaking, and I feel like for you, it's the same. You're now stepping
Yeah.
into a new place where you are still chasing a dream, you're chasing your goal, but it's something that's more aligned with you,
Mm.
and with where you want to go.
Yeah.
But you take all your past experience with that,
Yeah.
though.
And
So,
sometimes it's embarrassing because, like, you build this reputation, especially on social media. You are known, I was known on LinkedIn for personal brand, and I got invited to stages to talk, and I've done great work. And it's embarrassing because sometimes when you just go off the grid and you haven't posted in 3 months, people ask you, like, are you still coaching? Like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I am just figuring it out.
mm,
Like, because I cannot, for me, it was like, I cannot keep running the business this way because the business is running me. And I was
yeah.
in the worst mental state I've ever been. And for what? Because I was getting to a point that I could not get past 10,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
because I was just not even building it in a way that was even what I wanted to build. I was just more worried and concerned how would people see me,
Mm-hmm.
and like if God forbid I wouldn't be able to post for a day, I would just go down a spiral. If I
Mm.
would post something and would only get 10 likes, I was like, oh my god, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah.
what people are gonna think. And now I just don't give two flying pigs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've built a 6-figure business, I've helped people build a 6-figure business, I built a brand. Now I'm just gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it like, oh, you have to build your business this way. No, that's your way. That's not
Mm-hmm.
my way. And there's so much embarrassment, especially, or so much pressure, especially in the business world, to always keep raising the bar, raising the
Mm-hmm.
bar, raising the bar. But if for me, raising the bar always means lowering my own bar and my bar is going down,
Mm-hmm.
I am just gonna stop and be like, what the heck am I doing?
Well, yeah, sacrificing, some things of yourself like health, mental well-being, time with family to, you know, push and to build something. But yeah, I guess that's a question for Wu, you know?
Yeah, and you do it for a period of time. But for me, when it hit is when my grandpa was really sick and then he passed and I didn't make it back in time because it was like,
Yeah.
I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then I was just at his funeral and I was like, what am I doing? And I kept going. Obviously, I kept going. Like, bills still need to be paid. You have a lot of commitment with clients, but it gets to a point that when you keep pushing for something that you're not 100% aligned with, knowing that you have the earning ability to build anything you want to build, you just get to a point it's like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to slow down and I'm going to think how I want to show up and how I want to do things moving forward. Because if what I'm doing is not supporting my future family or the way I want to show up for my kids, I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really finding that alignment, and what you feel like is going to be the most sustainable as well to endure, like in the long term. Um, and also realizing it's not all about money. You know, money is great. It makes life easier, and we live in capitalism, so unfortunately, we need to make money. But as long as you can find a way to do it with more freedom and in some niche or industry you love, I think that's the most important. And that's when you're going to last the longest. Because if you truly love what you do, you're going to want to be the top 10%, you know. But if you don't like what you do and you keep pushing and, you're not going to be the top 10%. So then in the end of the day, you also don't achieve your money goals, right? So doing something you love and making sure it's in alignment with yourself, maybe in the short term, you're not going to see it, but in the long run, you will.
To close this episode, what's the message that you would give to women, young women like you in business that are trying to, pursue their dreams, and when the tough gets tougher, like how to even, deal with that? What would be your message?
I think not just to maybe women in general, but to everyone, that I think the fact that, you and I are talking right now, I take note of that in my head. I see you, we have hands, we can talk to each other, we have eyes. We are so special as a human, The chances of us being human on this planet are so rare. And I think too many people settle for an average life or even for a life that they really don't like, wishing that they don't wake up the next day. And it's really, really about understanding how special you are. Doesn't matter who created us, God, God's universe. They put us on this planet to have this human experience. And it is up to you to make that human experience the best experience possible, So if you have a dream that comes into your head, it comes into your head for a reason. You have to do everything in your power to achieve it. You have to do everything in your power every single day to get closer to it. And you should realize that if you're sitting there right now listening to this and you don't like your job, you don't like your life, you have to change something about it. You have to change it because it's too precious to do things that you don't like. This world is here to be explored. Life is here to be lived, And we were put on this earth to have a great experience. And I feel like everyone should be reminded of that you do have the capabilities to design your own life. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what your background is, but you should be able to design your own life and live the best human experience possible.
And give it time. Give time.
Yeah.
Because we go through life rushed. And like the other day I was in church and the pastor put something on the screen that really, really resonated with me. And it said, don't live rushed, but live ready. You need to be ready, right? Always, but don't rush through life because then you just blink and you're 40 and you're like, what just happened? What have I done?
Yeah, exactly that. And just try every day to do even just one thing to get closer, but just don't settle for average and don't settle for less. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks so much for being with us today. We will just link your social media channels down below if they're seeing this on YouTube, listen to this, so they can reach out to you if they need to. And probably I'll see you in a year from now. I'll be like, when
We'll
you,
be looking at you. This podcast will be like,
yes.
Jenny's podcast is blown up.
Oh, God willing, God willing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And well, I mean, we're really good friends, so we will definitely keep in touch.
Yeah.
If you guys like this episode, just subscribe so we can bring better, bigger guests. If you're listening to this and you feel like it might help someone, just feel free to share it. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of House of Input podcast. Hi guys, it's your host here, Geni Cor. If you made it this far, I hope that this episode has helped you heal, grow, expand in some way. It would mean the world if you can subscribe, like, and comment, because it's gonna help the podcast grow massively. Your support means the world to me and to my team, and we're just gonna bring you better content, bigger guests. So please just support the podcast if you can, and if you think this is gonna help someone, please share it with them. I'll see you next Thursday.